Yes. Okay. Hello everyone. So actually today Bishoy will talk to you about the problem. I'll talk to you about the solution, or the possible solution. First, this work is done by one of my dear students, Dunya Dweeb, who was not able to come here today, and co-supervised by Dr. Mohammed Najib Abu Zaid and myself. So we are talking about what we call hybrid coastal protection strategies, what we can do in order to mitigate climate risks for the Egyptian Nile Delta. To understand the issue, actually, Bishoy made a good job in introducing this topic for you. So the Nile Delta has a low level in terms of topography. Okay, so it is a lot of coastal cities in Egypt are at a very high risk, and actually some areas already started facing drought, okay, due to the increase in sea level. And what we're talking about here are the hard versus the soft protection, and I'll talk about what is hard, what is soft. Actually, most of you have already seen the hard. Anybody who went to a coastal city, he or she visually saw the hard. But the soft is something that a lot of people didn't see. We will talk also about a case study and some case studies, and talk about what we talk about the risk assessment across the different locations in Egypt. So the point is that I'll save some time the issue of the intro, because you know the issue of the increase in the sea level already. But the point here is how to mitigate it, and how to mitigate it at the lowermost cost and the maximum benefit, and we can even make a profit. So we go through a literature review, site-specific analysis, stakeholder inputs, and risk assessment. This is the general how you can look at things. This is the general recipe of how to reach the solution. Okay. Let's first identify the hard versus soft. What's hard versus soft? Hard is the typical, whether the concrete blocks or rocks or whatever kind of hard structures that are actually structures, and supposedly I should be a big fan of it as a structural engineer, that are there to break the waves. Okay? Soft is the exact opposite. Soft is mainly vegetation, aquaculture, something like mangroves, if you know mangroves, all that stuff. Okay? So this is the soft coastal protection. Hybrid is both together, being engineered together. And we as engineers, this is our job, to take the merits of everything, to get the perfect mix, perfect recipe. Okay? We are not saying that we got the perfect recipe. We are just initiating this study. This is, by the way, this is the first step. These are the very early steps. So we are analyzing what happened or what's the situation, the actual situation in each coastal area, coastal governorate in Egypt. Egypt is very unique in the fact that we have two coastal lines, one on the Mediterranean Sea and the other is on the Red Sea. And even the one on the Mediterranean Sea, it has a variability. It has a variability in its nature, because some governorates are very densely populated, mainly based on agricultural economy. Others are no, they are living on tourism. So there is a variability, and this variability will trigger something when we talk about the hybrid coastal protection. So again, this is a summary of what's hard, what's soft, as I mentioned. And again, what's hybrid could be different scenarios, because we said different components of the hard and different components of the soft. So you have different scenarios that you could do when you merge the two ideas together, the two concepts together. So first, we are integrating the hard and the soft structures in the coastal zone, and because we are talking about something that is unique, you can be utilizing it in a unique way. I mean, it can be novel in terms of from different aspects. First, from the material aspect, that what material you're using in order to construct it and in order to do it from the first place, and in the sustainability point of view. And why sustainability here, we are talking about both environmental and economic. We can make gold out of this. Gold, yes, we can make a lot of money out of this. Imagine aquacultures. Imagine fisheries. Imagine touristic industries. All of that tailored according to each locality, the situation in each place. And again, put in mind what I mentioned, that there is a variability along the locations, along this coast. So there is, and by the way, there is a variability in life all over. Any coastal zone all over the globe, they are not like each other, okay? So this is an example, just an example of what we could talk about. I mean, here you have a barrier island, which is a hard structure, and you have oyster beds that could act as the soft coastal protection. So this is one example that you can have. You can have the barriers, the concrete blocks and mangroves, for example. You can have a lot of scenarios. You can tailor it the way you want, okay? This is what we are good at as engineers, to develop the solutions. So first case study is mangrove and almond revetment in Singapore. Okay, so this has been already done. It was successful in reducing the waves by 35%. In Egypt, there is the area of Balain Petroleum. This area, I mean, of course, most of you know that most of the petroleum industry, they work on the coastal line somehow. So Balain is a major site, petroleum site in Egypt. So they have done this work over there such that they are studying currently the effect of having more than 10 kilometers of about 10 kilometers of reduction in their coastal area, and they are initiating the process of developing solutions for this thing. Okay, and this is one of the things we are talking about with them, which is the hybrid coastal protection. Now, these are samples of 8 different locations in Egypt: Alexandria, Damietta, Ras al-Bar, Said, North Sinai, Bahira, Nahliya, Kafr Sheikh, at which they are at relatively high risk of coastal reduction of the coastal sea level. Sorry, of the coastal high coastal erosion. Sorry. So this matrix was used in order to categorize the risk probability and the impact of this risk. Of course, you can see that in a lot of cases, you can see here, this is why I mentioned Alexandria in specific when the show is talking, that Alexandria was in the red. It has a high impact and a high probability of occurrence. Why is that? Because Alexandria is a major city. Buildings are constructed just a few meters away from the coastal line, few meters. And some of the buildings have already started being tilted, a little bit, okay? And by the way, not a structural failure, an overturning failure, something in the foundation system, okay? So there is a proven high impact on the population over there, okay? On Alexandria that was there since the time of Alexander the Great, okay? However, when talking about in assessing the situation with a proposed hybrid solution, Alexandria is now moving from the red to the yellow. Of course, it's not in the green yet, but to be realistic, it will never be in the green. Moving it from red to the yellow zone is at least something good. Okay? Bad news for people from Ula Alexandria. This is green. Okay? Fine. So our key findings, we are talking about mainly, by the way, again, this is the first step. These are the first few steps in this study. We didn't go as deep as using machine learning and that stuff in it yet. Okay? But hopefully we will have people who will continue. So this hybrid coastal protection, it can give a room for high economic sustainability, high environmental sustainability. It can open the door for closed cycle economic activities. It can open the door for eco-friendly materials to be used within its own components, because you are using fewer concrete when you are reducing the amount of hard structures that we're talking. So you can also make this concrete green itself. Of course, we need further research to be done. We need policies to change. By the way, part of this study was talking to different governmental entities in Egypt, which was a little bit challenging. Okay? We need this communication between us as researchers and the general public of engineers and the general public of the end users of something like that. And thank you, and this is Dunya saying thank you to you guys from now. Any questions? Yes?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Just one quick question. You talk about the soft solution and then you kind of talk about it in your presentation. So how do you actually convince the public that, because we are so used to, that one particular type of solution, now you're proposing something new, you talk about that you also have some difficulties when you try to talk to the government, and you try to talk to other people for the support. So any suggestions, any advice on that?
The universal language, sir. Money. Money talk. It's a very strong language. And everybody understands this language. Here we are talking about economic solutions. I mean, if we are proposing fisheries, I mean, for example, mangroves, they are in nature, they are used by sharks for breeding. Their kids are raised in these mangroves. So it's a perfect environment for fisheries, for example. Okay? And by the way, here we are talking about saltwater fisheries, which can include something much more profitable than freshwater fisheries. Okay? We're talking about something that's tailorable, because you can start to tailor it again with different size of the issue, depending on the scale, the geographical scale. So we're talking about something like a 10 kilometers width, like the situation in Medellin, versus along 30 kilometers coastal line in Alexandria. So you can tailor whatever solutions you have, especially with the topography. I wish I had a map here. With the geography we are having, a city like Alexandria, for example, it has a lot of gulfs. So they already started doing this, but started doing this for touristic purposes. They started closing part of these gulfs, okay, by the concrete blocks in order to have private beaches with low waves for resorts or whatever. But it can be used in a different way. So again, money. Yes?
Have you prepared any proposal for soft solution to be included as a pilot project anywhere?
We have currently applied for governmental funding, having this proposal that was submitted just a few days ago. Okay.
So there is a proposal in place?
Yeah, a proposal was submitted for the government. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Any further questions? Okay. Thank you all.